What's going on YouTube? Team SC back online here, bringing you another video today for now those of you who haven't logged in yet. As of yesterday, patch 3.8 is live, and that means a bunch of new multiplayer changes for Starcraft, in particular the Terran race, which we'll be discussing in this video. Now as you can see, there's a bunch of mech units on my screen, and these are all the units that got affected by the changes. Not many changes to Bio, but Bio's already been in a good place and is pretty solid to use anyways. Mech is the one who's needed a lot of help, and hopefully they have it now because everything is different. Let's go ahead and get started. Now for starters, we do have the Banshee. The Banshee got a mild change. All of its stats are the same, but they changed its upgrade. They used to have the Hyperflight Rotors upgrade, but to get this you'd have to actually have a fusion core first. Now I do have a fusion core, but you can actually get this upgrade before getting a fusion core. They did increase the upgrade time, so instead of 93 seconds, which it was before, it is now 121 seconds. So it is a little longer to get, but you can get it as soon as you get a tech lab on your starport. So this is nice because it kind of gives you the option. You can go for cloak banshees, or you can go for speed banshees, or you can go for both if for some reason you get double starport and actually have enough gas to get both upgrades at the same time. And this is nice. The speed upgrade's really good, guys. Like, I know a lot of you probably never got a chance to do it because getting the speed upgrade was like a real late game thing for the Banshee, but early game, like, I prefer getting speed over cloak, to be honest, because once you have the speed upgrade, Banshees are so quick and they just fly around the map, and if you get into trouble, you don't even have to cloak. You can just kind of run away and get out of there. So I think it's a little bit better to get the speed upgrade than the cloak upgrade. Now cloak does have a lot of areas where it's good at, but to me, if you have good micro and decent control of your army, the speed upgrade is what you want to get to really just kind of get in there, do your damage, and then get out as soon as possible. So I like this. I think it'll be a good change for the Banshee, and hopefully we'll see more Banshee openers because of this. Second on the list is the battle cruiser, the big boy himself. Now he got a big change. As you can tell, he no longer has an energy bar, and his weapons are on cooldown. So this means we can like teleport into the enemy base, drop a Yamato cannon right afterwards, and then instantly get out, or do vice versa. Before, with the energy bar, both spells cost like, I think 150 or 125, but he never had enough energy to actually get both spells unless you got the energy upgrade, and even then I don't think he could cast both spells. It would have to be Yamato cannon or tactical jump. So if you cast your cannon, you'd kind of be dead in the water, or if you cast your tactical jump, then you couldn't cast the Yamato cannon, and you'd have to wait for his energy to charge, and it just takes a long time. And then on top of that, it made them very weak against the Protoss race, because Templars could just get feedback, and then boom, Battlecruiser loses all its energy, can't use any abilities, and loses like half its health. So it did seem kind of silly that the tier 3 big boy starship has such an easy counter and just a Templar spell that they don't even have to research. So I like this change a lot, guys. It's so much fun. I've been using the battle cruiser more. I mean, it's not like game breaking, but it does make him feel like a more viable option and just a solid unit over round. Definitely love this change. Cannot wait to start making some more battle cruisers. Third on the list is the Cyclone. Now this Cyclone got a massive rework, guys, so everything has changed for this unit. For example, its weapon, they even changed the name. It's now called the Tornado Blaster. I forgot what it was called before, but they completely changed how this weapon works. Before, it used to do 18 damage every 0.7 seconds. Now it does 3 damage, 5 versus armored, every 0.1 seconds. So it attacks a lot quicker and does a lot more damage. So over 0.7 seconds, against non-armored units, this weapon will do 21 damage. Against armored units, it'll do 35. So as you can tell, a big buff from the 18 damage it did do before. They changed a couple more things on this unit. Now its gun only attacks ground. It can no longer hit air units. On top of that, they decreased the range of the weapon to 4. I believe it used to be 5 or possibly 6. The upgrades used to make the weapon go up +2, but since it does less damage but actually more damage, the upgrades from the armory will only increase this by +1, which is still significant, guys. Movement speed got debuffed. It used to move at 4.72, now it only moves at 4.13, so it is a little slower, but it is a lot beefier to compensate. It used to have 120 HP, now it has 180, and it also costs less supply. Like Cyclones used to eat up your supply. They cost 4 supply, so you could get a bunch of Cyclones, but you would be pretty much, your supply would be full with these like squishy units that just die super easy. Now they cost less supply and they're more durable. So they reworked this unit. Now it's kind of like a frontline, anti-armored, mobile pseudo tank unit, kind of help deal with early game roaches and stalkers. And this was a big problem with mech, because mech doesn't have a lot of mobility options, and you can get some siege tanks at like secure locations like chokes and things like that, but against some maps like this, like as you can tell, there's a lot of different attack paths. It was real hard to have enough siege tanks and spread them up well enough to kind of cover everything. And then even if you do that, you're susceptible to like drops, and just mech had a lot of weakness and issues with mobility, and the Cyclone is kind of there to help remedy it. It is mobile, and it's kind of used as like a stepping stone unit now. You don't even need Tech Lab to build them anymore. You can actually build 2 out of a reactor now, which is pretty insane if you ask me. Now a couple more changes to this unit. I know I've said a lot already, but they changed it from the ground up. It still has its lock-on ability. They changed the damage. Now it does 160 over 14 seconds instead of the 400 damage it used to do, and it only hits air units, and it's no longer on autocast. So the Cyclone still has a lock-on ability, can still be used to deal with a small amount of air threats, but not as strong as it was before. So you can still have a Cyclone and kind of use it to ward off an early dropship or warp prism, or even like, I don't know, Oracle, there we go. And it'll still do pretty good to kind of help ward off some air threats, but it's not completely, you know, good for, it's a temporary solution. It's not going to be great against air in the late game, but it does help you survive against early game air as well. So definitely a solid change for Cyclone. I'm definitely happy to try this out, and definitely looking forward to using them a lot more. And as you can see, I kind of have a mask here, so we can kind of go ahead and showcase that new weapon and show that easy AI who's boss, and we go ahead and just kind of attack, move into the base. And you can see their little rapid fire missiles just shoot super quick now, and it's kind of awesome to see. I definitely like this change. As you can see, they kind of move at a similar pace as the Hellbats. Hellbats still a little slower, but if you have them with Hellions, they don't move nearly as quick. The Hellions move a lot quicker. So as you can see, we can auto cast a lock-on ability, kind of deal with that Raven. And as you can see, it doesn't do incredible damage. I have like 3 lock-ons going, and it doesn't really it takes a while to kill that Raven, but as you can see, those buildings go down so quick. So definitely sick change for the Cyclone, guys. Definitely this will hopefully help mech become more viable in the long run, and I'm excited to try these changes. Let me go ahead and get to the next unit. I don't want this video to be forever. Next on the list is the Liberator. Liberator really got no big change at all. It just got a nerf to its weapon, a nerf to its anti-air weapon. It no longer does bonus damage versus light, so it's not going to be nearly as good as light air units like Mutalisks and Phoenix as it was before. It can still do damage, splash damage to air, but it's not going to be as good at dealing with anti-air. They kind of have this more as like a flying tank, where it's really good against, you know, dealing with ground threats, but not as good at dealing with air threats. But you can deal with air, but they kind of want the Viking to be more, the Viking and Thor is kind of what they're looking at to be more of the strong anti-air threats, and I'll talk about the buffs they got here in a second. So Liberator, small nerf, but Liberators are still strong. Let's go ahead and talk about the Raven. Now Raven got a pretty good change, guys. They buffed the auto turrets. They now do more damage. They used to do 16 damage, now they do 24, which means they 2-shot workers, and we almost 2-shotted that worker there, which is really good for the auto turrets. They do a lot more damage now than they used to, making the auto turrets just a little bit better, but they also changed the upgrade for the Raven. They can still get their energy, but now they have one called Recalibrated Explosive, which increases the Seeker missile damage by 30%, which is the upgrade that they had before, the Explosive Sharpnel. But this one actually increases its tracking range by 50%, and that one, in my opinion, is huge, because a lot of the issues is pretty much anything you would Seeker missile could run away from you, and then the Seeker missiles just fizzle out. Now, with the extra 50%, like, it had a tracking range of like 13, now I believe it's like 19 or something like that. So pretty much anything besides like a Zergling or Hellion is going to get hit by the Seeker missile. I don't think there's a lot that can outrun the Seeker missile anymore. So definitely going to be easier to deal with clumps of units and just kind of wreak havoc, wreck some shop, guys. I'm excited to destroy some mass Void Ray clumps with these Seeker missiles. But good change. Hopefully we'll see more Ravens used, at least 2, 3 in any mech composition, because they're a little bit more useful now. Next on the list is the Big Daddy tank himself. Now this one got a massive rework. You can no longer pick up the tanks with medevacs, so that micro and part of the game is gone. But I think the tank has got so much more now instead. So he got his HP buffed to make up for his lack of mobility. It's 175 health instead of 160 like it was, but he got his damage increased as well. He used to do 35 damage plus 15 versus armored, so this was like, you know, max damage 50 against armored units. Now he does 40 damage and then an extra 30 against armored, so 70 to armored units. So this guy is like, once you have this guy sieged up, it is definitely the epitome of zone control. Like, nothing's gonna mess with your tank line, okay? Like, tanks are just back to their glory days when they were like, you had a siege line, you don't mess with that, and that's kind of what they did with the tanks. So now the tanks are back to their former glory. Hope to use this ability. They did get a small nerf to their attack speed. It now is 2.14 instead of 2, but I think the damage health definitely make up for this tenfold. So I'm happy to see some more tank lines holding out. As you can see, these tanks, 9 kills, 6 kills, just been holding out against the easy AI over here, and nothing is touching my little choke down there. Very happy about that. Alright guys, I think we got 2 more units to discuss. The Thor. Not too big a change. Everything about him is the same except his Javelin missiles, which is his anti-air weapon. They had the splash range increase. It used to be 0.5 radius, now it's 0.6. So this could be a little bit better at dealing with clumps of units like mutalisks or anything in the air that clumps. And they changed the high impact payload as well. This one's the one you would switch to kind of deal with kind of the armored air threats. As you can tell, they do 50 damage against armored air, so they're good against Broodlords, kind of better against Void Race than using the other one, which doesn't do nearly as much damage. Definitely you want to use this mode for bigger things like battle cruisers as well. But what they changed about it is they made the anti-air gun, only this one though, the explosive payload, takes priority over his anti-ground gun. So if you have like a Zerg army attacking you, or if like a Broodlord's coming in and shoots its broodlings, usually the Thors would just attack the broodlings and the Thors die, which is kind of a big issue in like ZVT late game mech versus Zerg. Now the Thor is going to shoot whatever's in the air first, and since the Broodlord got a small nerf to its range, the Thor range for this is 10. The Broodlord's range is 10. So once Broodlords are in range to hit the Thor can hit the Broodlords, and the Thor's not going to target the broodlings anymore. It's going to actually just straight up target the Broodlords, even if you're not paying attention. So this is real good. Hopefully it'll make mech a little bit more viable and good against the late game air of Zerg, and even the late game air of anything. So they really want this guy to be like a super walking missile turret, it seems. Viking, last on the list, got one little change. Not too big, but usually you'd make mass Vikings to kind of counter air threats, but besides dealing with air, Vikings are pretty much useless on the ground. So they wanted to give the Viking a little bit more use in its assault mode, so it's not that, because you don't want to make a bunch of Vikings and then you kill all the air threat and then you're left with kind of a relatively useless unit. They buffed its damage to mechanical units, so it usually does 12 damage, now it does 20 to mechanical units, and that doesn't just mean mech guys. As you can see, this Viking deals with this tank pretty quick compared to how it used to, but it can also do extra damage to like Stalkers, Immortals, possibly Sentries. Like Protoss has a bunch of mechanical units. So Viking definitely got a nice buff, definitely a little bit better at dealing with ground units, and they actually eat Stalkers up pretty well now. So if you got a couple Vikings zoning out the Colossus once the Colossus is dead, you can land these Vikings and they'll help you deal with Stalkers as well. So all in all, this is a summary of the changes for the Terran race. Let me know what you guys think. Hopefully we'll see some more beautiful mech games to come. And until next time guys.